Hi, 7th graders. Welcome to the lecture on causes of World War II. For this lecture, you're going to need your notebook again. We're just going to continue adding on to some of the notes that we have. I'll show you the header and things like that you'll need for this lecture. So World War II has 5 underlying causes. The first 3 are very familiar to us. The first one is nationalism, that extreme pride in one's nation, nationality, or country. Imperialism is that taking of land and or property. Militarism is building weapons or strong military at a very rapid pace. We also have fascism. This was a vocab word for you. You have a quiz on it tomorrow. Fascism is when you are controlling the people of a country in a very strict way with complete power that cannot be opposed. So we're going to see this through lots of countries, predominantly European countries, with World War II. The last is totalitarian dictatorships, leaders who control all aspects of society. Ultimately, these leaders are going to take advantage of the economic problems. If you think back to our last lecture, most of the European countries, if not all of them, are going through something of a global depression. And the leaders take advantage of this and they play off of people's feelings to ultimately get what they want. So when we look at totalitarian dictatorships, a lot of these dictators are promising simple solutions to the nation's problems. They're trying to rebuild national pride, often using some form of propaganda. They're providing scapegoats or targets for anger and blame, and they're absorbing power. So they take away individual rights and then they crush opposition. So they believe that this is one party, one ruler. So like in Germany, for example, you had the Nazis. They are the sole political party of Germany, whereas like here in the United States, we have a president, but we also have our political parties like Democrats and Republicans as well. So here's a little equation for you. Nationalism plus imperialism plus militarism equals aggression. When you have extreme aggression, that's when you have war. So again, adding to our notes from yesterday, causes of World War II will be your header. And then we dive right on in. Again, you'll be writing down all of the underlined components. So Adolf Hitler is the leader of Germany, like we discussed yesterday. If you're having a hard time picturing where Germany is located, it's there on the map for you. So Germany, when we break this down, Germany's practicing nationalism because they want to rebuild their country. Hitler is going to preach vengeance against the four hates. So the four hates would be democracies, communism, the November criminals, and Jews. So democracies he felt were weak and undisciplined forms of government. Communism is a threat to Nazi growth. Again, why it's one of the four hates. The November criminals are those who signed the World War I armistice. So if you think back to who was involved in that, it was everybody but Germany. And then Jews, the source of all evil and problems in Germany, is how he viewed this. Germany continued. We now have imperialism. Germany had this strong desire to unite all people of German ancestry. And so to do that, they invaded Poland. Militarism, the sole goal was to rebuild the German army to the greatness that it was prior to World War I. They'll create the Nazi war machine and build the number one military in the world at that time. So if you're wondering what this should look like, here's my example of what my notes would look like. I have Germany, underline it, and then I skip down and I'm going to break it down by nationalism, imperialism, and militarism and just jot some notes down. Again, you have a notes quiz on Wednesday. That notes quiz for yesterday and today will be a combined 20 points. The vocab quiz is 10. Again, notes quiz is locked. You're not able to access any of the PowerPoints and things like that. So if you don't take notes today, you don't have access to it. If you're taking your notes, there's no reason why you should get anything less than a 20 out of 20. I think I asked like what country wanted to unite people of their ancestry, and so to do so, they invaded Poland. Okay, something simple like that. It would be Germany. I think there's another question like who rebuilt their army to be, what it was prior to World War I. Again, Germany. So very basic, straightforward questions. Feel free to pause at this time if you need to go back and finish up any notes, or go ahead and hit pause if you want to restructure your notes, though, that you have an idea of maybe what this should look like. Benito Mussolini of Italy. We have Italy there. Notice how she is shaped like a high-heeled stiletto boot. Um, Nationalism with Italy. They want to rebuild the ancient Holy Roman Empire. That's their sole goal. They're very passionate about this. Again, it's a lot of national pride. Imperialism. They felt betrayed by the Allies at the Treaty of Versailles due to Great Britain and France promising land to them when they joined the Allies in World War I. This promise was ultimately not kept. And so, as a result, they want to control land around the Mediterranean Sea. If we go back, we have the Mediterranean Sea right down here. So they want to try to control specific lands, if you're catching my drift, what we see here. Um, and then militarism, they will form the Rome-Berlin Axis with Germany in 1936. I will tell you right now that all three of these things are questions on your test. So I would go ahead and get those jotted down. Hit pause if you need to. All right, Hideki Tojo and Japan. Notice again, Japan is a island off of the coast of Asia. You can see Russia kind of wraps around here, but we have China, North and South Korea. Again, Hideki Tojo is your prime minister. The emperor of Japan is Emperor Hirohito. Nationalism. Japan wanted to be number one in Asia. That's their sole goal. In order to be number one, though, they need oil and raw materials. They will invade and conquer land in East China because East China has those materials that they need. They will build up the strongest military in Asia, and there's really nobody who has the ability to fight against them within that continent. Again, soldiers' motto, I think I mentioned this in the last lecture, is death before dishonor. They would rather die before they dishonor their country. So causes of World War II. Germany, Italy, and Japan will make up the Axis powers. They are ultimately the three bad guys within World War II. You have poor decisions made by powerful democracies. So France and Great Britain actually opted for a policy of appeasement, which we've talked briefly about in the last lecture. They're going to do anything to avoid war. And again, this is a poor decision made by powerful democracies who do have a pretty big stance in the world. The League of Nations would prove to be ineffective and lacked a military. Again, the League of Nations is what Woodrow Wilson will propose and help to establish following the Treaty of Versailles, although the U.S. is never part of the League of Nations. The U.S., we are isolationists, and the Great Depression will keep our focus on us rather than the rest of the world. As aggression begins to take place throughout Europe, like Germany invading Poland, we will claim to be neutral. We don't have an interest in getting drawn into World War II because we were drawn into World War I. And until it involves us, we don't have too much of an interest. But you and I both know that we will get involved because World War II becomes very personal for us. So Great Britain and France. You can go ahead and jot both of those down. I realized that I did not underline this top part here, so I'll actually do that for you. Here we go. Okay, Great Britain and France. Germany wants to expand into Poland after claiming Czechoslovakia, and so Great Britain and France will pledge to defend Poland if Hitler attacked. Those are the things, that's all you need to write down for Great Britain and France. The Soviet Union. We have a little bit more here. Stalin and Hitler actually were friends when all of this happened. Stalin's a really bad guy, and he ends up being friends with us throughout World War II, and that's because Hitler ultimately stabs him in the back. So again, Stalin and Hitler agreed to split Poland between them. Yes, they're friends at first. Germany and Russia will invade Poland in September of 1939. In June of 1941, Hitler will order a surprise attack on the Soviet Union, which will force them to join the Allied powers. So again, the Soviet Union starts off being friends with Germany, and then Germany stabs them in the back. And so they, again, are forced to be friends with us. Go ahead and give you a moment here to get those notes written down. Hit pause if you need. Causes of World War II continued. Again, here's that equation. Nationalism, imperialism, and militarism equal aggression. When we have extreme aggression, we have war. If you think back to our three big enemies, okay, Germany has nationalism, imperialism, and militarism that they are practicing. Um, Japan does as well, right? They're trying to, they want to be number one in Asia. There's that concept of nationalism, imperialism, they're invading Eastern China, and then militarism, they want to have the number one military. We had the same with Italy. Um, they want to reestablish the Holy Roman Empire. They want lands in the Mediterranean Sea for imperialism. And for militarism, they're going to form the Rome Berlin Axis with Germany. So they're going to create basically a friendship that revolves around military orders at the time. When you have all of these things put together, you get that aggression. And when it comes to an extreme, it means war. And the extreme might just mean one country, or it might mean um, a multitude of countries. Like, so for World War II, we don't just have Germany leading the pack like we saw in World War One. We have Germany and Russia, or excuse me, Germany, Italy, and Japan. Russia will start off there as well, and then, as we know, eventually leave and become friends with us, much like Italy kind of did during World War One. So again, there's a little irony in how all of this plays out because there's some similarities. The United States, Pearl Harbor is what's going to force us into World War II. Um, you have a vocab quiz and a notes quiz tomorrow, and then Thursday, I believe Thursday, I'm trying to figure out how to push a message out to all of you, but you'll be doing a few different components through BrainPop as well. BrainPop now has classrooms, so I can add you, or you can add yourself into the classroom that you need, and you'll watch the video and take the graded quiz, and it pops up. I see your scores, and then I can import those directly into Infinite Campus, which is kind of cool. So rather than having to listen to me lecture about Pearl Harbor, there's a quick, like, it's less than 7-minute video, and then you get the quiz. So ultimately, if we use BrainPop, you can cut down your instruction time for social studies probably in half. So rather than having to listen to me lecture and take notes and then do a notes quiz, which could take, a half hour or more, you can essentially crank all of that out through BrainPop within 15 minutes. So we'll give it a try. Pearl Harbor will be your um, first assignment within BrainPop, and then I will go ahead and probably push something out asking for feedback. But I'm really excited to continue looking at World War II with you. If you have questions about things, please make sure you're looking at those intro videos. I know the one for this unit was last Friday, and then I'll probably post another one that'll appear up by Tuesday. We don't have school Friday or Monday that was scheduled, and so I'm honoring that within the class breakdown. But I will go ahead and talk to you probably again next week. Feel free to hop on at any time in the morning from 9 to 10 when I'm available during Zoom sessions. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.